Chad Shannon, Shannon Strength. All right, here's week 5 events day. It's kind of the final lift of the week. I always pick an event. Usually it's overhead, and almost 99% of the time it's overhead because that's my weakest event. And I try to get as much overhead work in as possible, especially now with my neck injury. And here lately I've been starting off with log cleans. So just 10 cleans from the lap to the chest. This felt better than last week. I've got to learn how to stay tight in my core, but let my neck relax when I'm coming back into extension. I lack some extension in my neck, so I'm really going to have to compensate and lean back in my thoracic spine, my lumbar spine, maybe a little more knee flexion to allow that to happen. I'm just trying to relearn the movement basically, and it's going to take a lot of repetitions at this point because log was always kind of my weakest overhead event. I'm much better at axle, just inherently was always decent axle presser if I could clean it. But I'm having to relearn the log all over again basically. These cleans felt better though, a lot less discomfort in the posterior part of my neck, and really it's the only pain I've had is in the posterior aspect, just from the whiplash. All right, so and then a little warm up on each implement individually here. Axle, so that's 25-pound rogue axle plus 50 pounds of weight to 25 bumpers. Again, I go through the motions here for the typical clean, and then just 10 reps. It's easy, no problem with this. I look back at these videos and I did skip one warm up. I usually do. I was just ready to get going, and I typically do some external rotations, get my elbows up under the bar so I can get my elbows high in the rack position. I did not do that today, and I can tell back watching these videos. And also another thing I'm doing here, so I think the next video is 10 reps on the empty log. I have my hat forward intentionally. Typically on log or any kind of overhead event, I turn my hat backwards. I'm keeping it forward to make sure I'm getting my head back. There's another cue for cervical extension, and just keeping my head out of the path of the implement. And actually I might have failed a couple reps because of the hat, honestly, because I wasn't back far enough and I was trying to avoid hitting my hat. So it's kind of a give take on that. I'm using, like I said, as a cue just to focus on that cervical extension and getting in a better position. And eventually I will turn around backwards and see how it goes, maybe next week. Now here's my first run. So the ladder, just doing a little conditioning here, just doing 5 reps with the first implement. That's not quite contest weight, of course. This contest is interesting. It's going to be like actually it's axle log, axle log, axle log, which is good for me because I'm better at axle, so I get a win first. Should get this first log weight, should be able to get the next axle, should be able to get the 4th log weight, hopefully is the goal. If I can get strong enough by then to get the 4, I could probably get the 5th axle weight right now, but the 5th or the final log weight would be out of the question at this point. So hopefully in 4 or 5 weeks I can get there. And you'll notice I'm just kind of dumping the weight on that axle. That's because I have a little bicep tendonitis on the right arm, and I don't want to piss that off. Or actually a little tennis elbow. So I'm just getting it down to my chest and I'm just letting it go. That's what bumper plates are for. Again, another little bit of ladder conditioning. Just did a 30-pound jump on each implement. I'm going to do 3 reps at each implement here. Give me a little nose torque. I love that stuff. I need to give me some new. It's getting kind of weak. Alright. Again, just really focusing on the clean. Trying to get my head back and get stable. Didn't have my elbows really where I wanted them, but this weight is enough. I can compensate. I can overcorrect for it easy. Got 3 pretty easy reps at 150. and just jump on up to the axle. And again, I'm going through the motion of doing the axle clean the way you're supposed to, or well, in contest I would do. Again, 3 pretty easy reps. And then I'm just going to dump the weight here to not piss my arm off. I was kind of expecting it to hurt there. Alright, bringing out the wrist wraps and elbow sleeves for this. This is kind of a contest weight right here. This is the first 2 weights at the contest. Except I have them backwards. The axle will be first at this contest. Now at nationals, it's going to be log, axle, log. So this would be representation of whatever the weights will be at nationals. But for this first contest coming up, it's supposed to be axle first, then log. So, or so we've been told at this point. And this is the opener weight of the log, 180. And last week I did not get this, so this is a major win. I wish I'd had my elbows a little better, but I was able to come up and fight it out. So that's a win over last week. I was not able to get that repetition. But then go on, and I was so happy I just went ahead and straight cleaned the axle, said forget it. So that's 185, and it looks like a piece of cake. I mean, axle, I'm pretty confident with right now. I don't need the neck range of motion for axle. I can keep my head back. I have a better line on the axle to drive. Now here would be the next weight on the ladder. 205 and 205. That's what's listed. So, and I just want to get practice with the clean. And I went and use my belt because I'm going to belt clean on the axle here, which is probably what I'll do at the competition. I mean, I may have the power to do straight clean 205, but by the time you get that point in the ladder, you're probably pretty fatigued. So hey, I gave it one good direct go. Wasn't sad, wasn't glad, just move on. Of course, I wouldn't count in competition, but I'm just going through the motions here, trying to get under the weight, feel the clean, rewatch these videos to see what I need to do, what I need to fix. So 205 on the axle, no problem. I probably have the final weight on the axle, which is 225 already. It's this puking log. Log has been the bane of my existence for years. All right, here's a little product shot. Zone smelling salts. You don't have any, get you some. They're the bomb. Oh yeah, love them. I could just smell them all day. I have gotten a little weak though. I need a fresh batch with a little kick. So what I wound up doing, done with the axle, I'm happy with it. I went onto the log and tried to do a 3x3, and I figured 180 is a good weight to start at. So I come here and miss this first rep, but hey, I come back, readjust, and I get it was my line. If I focused on pushing back behind my head, I was able to complete the reps. So I got 3 successful reps in that fashion, and I was pretty stoked. So I gave myself like 3 to 5 minutes of rest after this. Again, that's something I need to learn to do a little more, is rest between sets, especially top sets and max efforts. And I just like to fly through things usually. So I gave 180 another attempt for a second set. And it wasn't awful, but I could tell I was getting tired. Again, I've really not had, the only pain or discomfort, I wouldn't even really call it pain, it's discomfort, is when I'm putting the axle or putting the log back down. It really doesn't bother me during the clean, with the extension, the press. It's when I'm coming back down and actually taking the tension off of my traps and neck. I feel like a little, just spasmy discomfort. Nothing that would even just gonna stop me from doing anything, and no neurologic symptoms. There's nothing going down my arms. So I was able to find out 1 rep, and then I just, it was going every which way and the other. I said, forget this. I'm just gonna call it right there. I'm gonna go ahead and drop down about 10 pounds and try to finish out these last 2 sets of the 3x3 with 170. So here's our first set at 170, our repeat set of the second set, I guess you call it. Try not to be confusing. Again, get a little chalk. And I really think a lot of this, it's not so much strength as it is the technique. Getting in position and the technique. Pushing back over my head. Really getting some good extension where I, can compensate, my thoracic spine, which is tight to begin with. So here's 170. Decent position on the elbow, so I'd like them a little bit higher. Able to find out that first rep. Had a good line on the next two, so successful at 170 for set number 2 of my 3x3. And again, I kind of go off to a 3 to 5 minute rest. Looking back at this video in the ladder attempt at 205 of the log, I feel like 190 to 195 would be my max right now. I'm able to get a three repetitions at 180. 205, like I said, was going. I just didn't have the tricep extension. Do a little meditative breathing here before this one, because I really did not want to drop any more weight. I wanted to end this right here. This is the last set of my whole workout, and I was calling it a day. All right, good clean, good elbow position on that one. I feel like little hitch there, not bad, and then last rep, no problem. All right, guys, that's my event day training. Log axle ladder. Peace out. That's all I got.